Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over some of the spoilers for version 3.4 of Gems of War. This new patch is going to be bringing in mainly two new mechanics, and that is the Doomskull mechanic, as well as pets. Pets are going to be introduced. So we'll have a whole new thing to go and collect, and we'll have a whole new mechanic being added among a few other small changes, but we're going to be going over basically everything we currently know about these two things, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll at least have a general understanding of how to go about getting them, using them, and all that kind of stuff. Real quick, there will be a summary of Salty's stream that she did going over to pets in the description. Asha Sakai ended up doing a very nice summary of that I'll post in the description. There's also where all of the screenshots for this video ended up coming from, so definitely check that out if you don't want to have to listen to me for like 20 minutes here. Anyways, let's get into going over all this. So first things first, let's go over the Doomskulls. So right here we have a instance of Puzzle Quest. In many of their previous games, they actually already had the mechanic of Doomskulls already introduced, so it's not something that is kind of new, or at least for Gems of War it is, but as far as them implementing it into the game, it is not. So basically, Doomskulls can be identified by a standard skull icon that then has a +5 on it. It looks slightly different, of course, in Gems of War and all that, but same general premise, has a +5 on it, and that indicates that it does indeed do 5 additional damage. It interacts a little bit interestingly, though. It acts many ways like a skull, except with an additional +5 on it. So basically, there's a few things you need to know. If you take it, and we swipe it right here, it'll do 5 additional damage. This 5 additional damage has quite a few interesting properties about it. For one, is it will add 5 to whatever your overall damage is. So let's say we're going to do 10, boom, it'll do 15. But let's say they have mitigation. Let's say they have a 50% reduction. Boom, it'll still do that 5 additional damage. It basically adds it after the fact. So similar to how banners function, it will do it basically the exact same way. It ignores traits, and it will add it after the fact. So we have, let's say, a 20 attack value on our troop. We will then do our 20, and then we'll get the additional 5. But let's say they mitigated that, and they're stopping it by half, so we would be down to 10 then, but we'd still have the full additional 5 for 15 damage onto him. So it still hits through the reduction, it still hits through agile. It will not interact in a way where your skull effect will still place it. So for example, if you have, let's say, freeze whenever you do damage to the enemy, it will most likely not freeze when you take a Doomskull related thing. So let's say you're doing 0, but you hit 5 off the Doomskull. That doesn't actually count as you hitting 5 with skulls because it just interacts slightly differently. Whenever you take a Doomskull, it'll also explode everything around it, and you'll accumulate 70% of the mana. So if we go and grab this right here, all of this right here will get exploded. So you'll go see this, we'll get that, and boom, all of that little area ends up getting exploded. There's a little bit of board control that you can do with that, of course, but it's mainly going to be giving you that extra little bit of mana and possibly cascades, as you saw there. But you can set up some interesting things onto the board. Definitely a fun mechanic to mess around with. It'll be best to go and destroy and explode it, because you do still get 100% of the value from destroying it or exploding it. For example, if we were to use an exploding troop right now that exploded the entire board, it would end up doing 10 damage, 1 for each of the skulls and an additional 5 for the Doomskull. If he is 100 mark, this will end up doing double the damage, so that will end up doing 20 total damage to him. Keep in mind that your own skull effects will most likely not improve this damage. So let's say that you had like 2 times skull damage against undead, or just any kind of multiplier, enrage, anything like that, that will most likely not work on Doomskull, because it will basically how it should most likely calculate out. We'll find out when it actually gets implemented, but what will likely occur is it'll take your skull value, let's say 20, it'll take your multiplier, let's say 2 times, so we're up to 40 now, and then it will add whatever extra damage you have. So let's say you took 1 Doomskull in your 3 match that you took, that will then end up doing a total of 45 damage. So it doubled it initially, and then it added it after the fact, similar to how banners add it after the fact. So, yep, that is pretty much Doomskulls. There will be a 10% chance per skull that gets generated onto the board that it will indeed be a Doomskull. So, Bone Storm will be pretty good. Bone Storm with explosions is going to be extremely potent. I believe Skyla is one of the only really good few options for that at this current moment in time. There will be a new kingdom added to Gems of War very soon after this patch, maybe even with the patch, who knows. But there will be a kingdom that will be bringing several troops that have the capability of generating Doomskulls onto the board as well, which will lead to a lot of of explosions. It's basically like an indirect exploder, because if one of those get paired, you're going to be able to get a lot of them down. It's going to be a pretty strong mechanic in Gems of War compared to the previous games, because in previous games that they've implemented this mechanic, there were cooldowns on really easy board control, as well as just better board control in Gems of War in general. So not only can you keep spamming it infinitely, you also have better options. So it's going to be ridiculously easy to hit these things with like Alchemist and Furnace, Gorgulfa, really just about anything. Dragon Soul, Exploders, and Destruction board control are going to be very, very popular starting next patch with all of the Doomskull mechanics. And I believe that is everything with Doomskulls. Why do I feel like I'm missing one specific big point on these? Wait. No, I don't believe I am. Anyways, if I do recall it, I shall mention it later in the video. But that is basically everything you need to know about Doomskulls. So, pets. Let's get into all of the everything for pets. So, there is a lot to go over. So, first things first. Pets are going to be available basically from these treasure gnome things that only appear in the PvP. So you'll be able to play PvP and you're randomly going to find one of these gnome pets. And if you kill this gnome pet, if anyone in your guild kills one of these gnome pets, it will trigger an event for your guild that will last for 1 hour. Yes, unfortunately, only lasts for 1 hour. And everyone in your guild will have the capability to go fight a bunch of battles and then go and claim yourself a pet. And you'll be able to do this once every hour, assuming your guild was to grind it out a lot. Technically, it'd probably take 70 minutes because you would have to actually do the grinding. But it's going to be a little bit weird because it kind of does encourage playing on an hourly basis, kind of like how tributes are, except even worse because you're missing out on quite a bit since you're going to maybe be missing out on an entire pet if you end up missing that. But yes, basically the whole process is you go to PvP, you play a bunch, someone from your guild finds a pet gnome, and then boom, you have it active for 1 hour. You cannot have multiple active per hour, and you can also not have it active when there is a pet rescue. Pet rescues are a thing that will be occurring once a month, and these pet rescues essentially are sorry, not once a month, once a week. And basically what these pet rescues are going to be is once every week on some day. We don't currently know what day that will be, or if it'll be completely random days, but one day during a week for 24 hours there will be none of those pet gnomes within PvP. But you'll have a automatic event thing that runs for those 24 hours that will be really easily accessible by everyone, and then you just do that within that time frame, and then you'll end up getting yourself a pet by the time you finish out the battles. All battles related to pets have no sigil system attached to them, so you can play them as infinitely as you want until you actually get it defeated. The battles do scale up so that a newer player may have some difficulty in destroying them, though people that have a pretty competent team, probably people level 500 plus, definitely people 1000 plus, shouldn't really struggle too much in destroying the pet things, probably in their first attempt for every single battle. But you do have infinite tries within either the hour time frame or the 24-hour time frame in the case of the pet rescue. So we have a bunch of images to start showing for this. Oops, I forgot. That moves that too, doesn't it? Whenever we go and shift that over. So for one, you can go and cosmetically use these pets whenever you want. You can go and just have them right on your shoulder. All pets are active at the exact same time. Some of them are cosmetic only, though a good majority of them do give you some kind of bonus for leveling them. But all of them you can put on your shoulder, and since there is no additional bonus for specifically dressing yourself with them, you can put whatever one you find the cutest or most adorable, or the whatever one you want on your shoulder to be on your shoulder. And of course you can have none of them on your shoulder if you so choose. But that'll be a nice thing. They're all pretty adorable. There's going to be 36 pets that are going to be added when they implement this, and a new one is going to be introduced every single month, every single month, kind of like how mythics are. And yeah, pretty much every month into the foreseeable future we'll be getting a new one, and I assume most of the newer ones will be non-cosmetic, though we'll have to see exactly what they end up doing with that. So let's go over the actual pet rescue thing. As I mentioned, this occurs once a week, not once a month, once a week. Not sure what the day is, but we'll find that out in the future. As you can see there's the overview, the fight, the rewards, the shop, and the pet info as far as the actual pet that we see there, which is Lucky in this case. You can see there that there is a pet mastery. As you level up your pets, which I'll be going over in a second, but as you level up your pets, you end up getting a small amount of gems as well as orbs. It looks like normal chaotic orbs there, so it could be anything from Ascension orbs or, you know, all the standard 4 smaller orbs that there are. But it will give you a little bit of gems, a little bit of orbs. Since they since they aren't attached to any kingdom per se, they had to give some kind of incentive system to actually go and level them up, and that is basically the incentive system other than their just natural effects that they have. Also, as you can see there, it goes over all of the little reward things as far as what you need to do. You basically have 8 battles that you need to go do within these fights. You end up getting a bunch of food as well as a bunch of chances at the pet. You get the guaranteed pet at the end of it. Actually, it might only just be the food and then the guaranteed at the end. But as you can see here, you get the battles each time. You have to keep searching for the pet. And then at the end, you finally do indeed get your pet. And you do get these little reward baskets every single time you defeat one of these battles, which should be pretty easy to take out since there's no sigil system. So you can just keep throwing your team at it over and over again until you eventually win. But yeah, the pet baskets will just have a small amount of resources as well as pet food. I've been mentioning pet food a lot, so let me go scroll all the way down here and head over to the little pet food thingy. So pet food. There are going to be 7 different types. These are used basically as how souls are generally used. They are used in order to go and level up your pets. You have to feed your pets. Every single pet has one food that they prefer, so basically you're going to want to figure out what the 7 best pets are in the game per color, and then put all of your food into those specific pets as far as their corresponding color. You only ever want to put the corresponding color into the corresponding pet. You can feed them with any, though realistically, to get your full value out of all 7 of your foods, you're going to want to do it within the corresponding color, because it gives less EXP if you use a whatever color it doesn't say. So in that case, it tells you to use blue food, but if you go use something like yellow food, it will give you less EXP than if you were to use blue food. Whereas if you use the yellow food on something that actually required yellow food or gets better bonus from a yellow food, you'd want to be basically feed whatever the color it says and only that color. Bottom line. But yeah, there are 7 types. She did not say how we will be able to go and craft these. She did say that they will be within the Soul Forge, so we are going to be able to craft them in the Soul Forge. What specific resources they cost, she did not mention. If I had to assume, based on that there are 7 of them and that it is the Soul Forge, it'll cost souls as well as whatever the corresponding little color thing is. By that I mean the 7 resources, the jewels is their proper name, the jewels that you end up getting from Soul Forge, or specifically from dungeons, but they accumulate over here in Soul Forge. So the white food will probably require diamonds, blue food, the sapphire, so on and so forth, for these 7 resources. And of course you could throw shards into one of these to try getting more of one of those in order to get a specific food if you want. I'm not certain if that is what it is, but based on that there is exactly 7 different food types, I would assume, since the only other thing that exists in the format of 7 are these jewels, and it's the Soul Forge, so it would make the most sense that these would be required. So definitely go stock up on these just in case. It's not guaranteed that it will require these, but based on the current information we know, it most likely will require these 7, technically 8 resources in order to craft food. But of course you can get food, plenty of it, just from playing out the event and everything itself. They're also adding a new calendar system, which is kind of interesting too. This calendar over here, of course, we had the 7-day daily, which you can still see exists there, so we'll still get like the daily gold thingy. But they have a weird new daily thing as well. Well, not really weird. A lot of games implement this these days, but basically, if you log in every day of a month, or just every day in general, you end up getting a small little reward. And if you end up doing it every single day in the month, you start getting bigger and bigger and bigger rewards. And by like the final week of the month, you're getting some pretty hefty loot from. Actually, it doesn't even show it on that screenshot, that bottom row. It'll be spoilers, but they're probably going to change the values anyways. But as you can see, it keeps going and getting better value as it goes down. Unfortunately, you would have to log in literally every single day in order to get the maximum bonus, though a good majority of players, or at least people that play on a regular basis, probably already do this. I know I definitely do, that is for sure. But yeah, you now get a slight smaller extra reward, and as you can see, there is pet food on this, and I assume there's always going to be pet food on it, so that's just yet another way to actually be able to go and obtain the food. So other than that, let's see. Let's go over to some of the bonuses. She did show 3 of them, or 2 of them. I forget if she showed the bonus of the other one. But we have 2 of them over here. Let's see. Where did the other one go? Too many tabs going on here. But here's the bunny. As you can see here, it has a water mastery on it. Not really that useful. But hey, it's more water mastery, slightly higher surge chance. Could be slightly good for newer players, but for the most part, I won't really be touching that bunny because that's not the greatest of rewards. As I mentioned, some will be fully cosmetic, some will have different effects, and some effects, of course, are better than others, and that is one of them that is kind of iffy on if it is actually that useful or not. As far as the other troop, if I'm not mistaken... Oh no, this is just the pet mastery thing. As I said earlier, you end up getting a gem and an orb as you level them up, and as you can see over to the left, it kind of just shows it. She unfortunately didn't check our mail, so we don't know the exact rate at which it gives, but we could tell by that orb icon that it's at minimum giving you an orb, and based on its wording, it's probably giving you some kind of amount of gems. So instead of Kingdom Star levels, it just gives you those little rewards. Not quite sure what will happen once you kind of clear it all out and get all the pets maxed. I guess there would be no pet mastery to go and get at that point. Let's see, what other ones did I end up missing here? Pet Ascension. So you're going to be getting copies of your pets. For whatever reason, it seems to skip ultra rare, but from what we can tell so far, every single pet gets introduced into the game as a rare, and it then, for whatever reason, skips ultra rare and then goes straight to epic. A rare has a max level, or at least in the case of pets, a rare has a max level of 5, a epic has a max level of 10, and you can kind of read the rest there, legend of 15, and of course mythics of the final of 20. It'll probably take a really long time to actually get pets mythic. From what I can tell, you're probably only going to be getting about, let's say, a dozen or so pets per week, maybe even only a few if you play a lot less. But it's not going to be something that you're going to be accumulating like heavily. There's going to be 36 pets initially, and it could take a few weeks before you really even get one of every single pet. Not to mention you could easily get duplicates, which would be slightly unfortunate. Well, not really. You could use them for Ascension then. But from what we can tell, there's actually nothing to do with your pets after you've fully gotten them to Mythic. Once you get them to Mythic and once you max ascended it, there isn't any way to scrap them. Maybe for souls or something, but she hasn't actually showed any screen that can actually get rid of them after that point. I don't know if they really thought through that far, but hopefully they'll be able to be scrapped for food. Oh no, that just sounds really morbid. I didn't mean to say it that way. Maybe we can scrap the pets for food. Oh gosh. Anyways, wow, that came out wrong. Anyways, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, that's that. Ascend them. Definitely ascend them, since there doesn't seem to be any way to go and scrap them. We have a bonus screen over here. This was the spider I meant to show earlier. This guy is one of the other ones that she did show the bonus for, and this has a 3x team bonus, as you can see on it. And this does it specifically to Zolkiri. Basically, what this means is if we go into our teams real quick. If we go over to our troops and we go over to just one of our teams I have set up as Zolkiri, what that is referring to, or what I believe it's referring to, I would assume, is this right here. You see the King of Spiders thingy. This is the Zolkiri bonus for having a bunch of Zolkiris in your team. That thing ended up saying that it does a 3x bonus, as you can see right there. Oh, that's the wrong one. But, where'd it go? Pet bonus grade. There it is. There it is. But 3 times. It ends up giving that 3x bonus, and that's basically what it aligns to. So you see that right there, 3x bonus. This bonus right here would then become 3 attack, and this bonus right here would then become 6 magic. And same thing, if you only have 3 of them in a troop, that bonus would end up being 3 attack, and that would end up being 3 magic. So basically, it's just a multiplier to this bonus right here. Not really that big. Most of them are pretty small kind of little boosts. They're not really made to be anything gigantic, obviously. But they still can stack up to be quite a bit of additional bonuses. And they seem to be kind of sporadic as far as what they go to. I don't think any of them are just directly like giving you, hey, here's 1 attack. I think it's going to be kind of situational things to make you use like peer teams. They probably have it based on typings. They might have 1 per kingdom, who knows? Or they might eventually have 1 per kingdom, because there's already, what, 32 kingdoms now, so they definitely don't have 1 per kingdom if there's only 36 pets. But, yeah, over time, that would end up becoming a thing, and there's a lot of different ways that they could end up setting them up to give a lot of kind of small bonuses. I think they're starting off a little bit smaller initially, just to make sure they don't overkill the game with bonuses, because, of course, that will happen again when 10-star kingdoms end up getting released, which is going to be a pretty big change in that regard. Anyways, I believe that is pretty much everything then. We went over Pet Mastery, went over the bunny thing, we went over the Ascension, calendar, pet food, and yeah. So basically, just as a quick summary, you just go to PvP, play them a bunch. You can have only 1 active at a time, but whenever anyone in your guild ends up finding a pet gnome, boom, you have 1 hour to go and kill that. You get a bunch of battles, you then go and clear those out. You then get yourself a pet at the end of it, as well as a few other smaller rewards. And you can do that basically once per hour, assuming someone in your guild ends up finding another pet gnome. And that is that. There's also going to be a once weekly thing where you're going to be able to get additional pets, but it will only occur for 24 hours. And during this 24 hours, you will not be able to find pet gnomes. You'll only be able to do the pet rescue little minigame thing. But anyways, that is pretty much everything. Definitely go and check out the other quick summary if you want even more coherent information on this. Other than that, if you have any additional questions, definitely feel free to leave them all in the description if anything was still kind of confusing after I went over all of this. I know I was kind of all over the place, but just kind of wanted to get this out as a general summary, just so anyone who is curious kind of knows. Next patch should be out within the next 1 to 3 weeks. They are pushing to try to get it by the end of April, but of course things can come up that prevents them from doing that. But they have already sent it in, and now they're just waiting basically on the confirmation. So as soon as it gets confirmed across all platforms, we will be in version 3.4. Anyways, guys, I will see you all later. I know you guys want me to click that blinking tribute. I know it bothers me too. Oh, it's only a 3. Anyways, if you still have any other questions, let me know, and I will see you all later. Goodbye, everyone!